Right, so let's do it. Let's do a commentary about my own game that I made back in 1995 entitled Final Soul. So this part here where it says enter disk ID, this is basically for future versions only. What I was going to do is I was actually going to create expansions where you can import your own people. I was gonna import like more rooms, possibly, like maybe do like outside areas and stuff like that. And you put in a disk number and it'd load that screen or those characters that you could input. Never got around to ever doing that, so that part was never implemented. So if you do yes to the introduction, it's all in caps because what I did, to explain a little bit about this. So when I coded this game, I had a ton of code in it. It was all it was all programmed in QBasic, and I used a compiler called Power Basic, I believe it was called, which would compile it into exe folder or exe file. So I had so much code in there that when I tried to compile it, the compiler would actually run out of memory. And so what I had to do was trim some of the code out. And in order to basically help trim some of that out, because I was not super experienced at coding. I was fairly good. I mean, I made my own game. It has a few bugs in it, but I did manage to make my own game. But for example, if you were to type look book and you capitalize letter L, I didn't know how to make it know that, hey, it's the same if they do capital or lowercase, just treat it the same. So I had to code each version of that. So if someone did capital L for look and then capital B for book, I had to capitalize and lowercase both of those. So when I realized that my compiler was running out of memory when I tried to actually finally compile it, what I did is I stripped it all out, made everything turn into caps, and I used a command called poke, where you can poke the memory and basically say, hey, no matter what, everything is in uppercase. So that way, if someone did look book, it was all typed in uppercase. I had to abbreviate that even further, and so look became L, get became get, and stuff like that. So anyway, it starts off that you are invited along with some other people to this house as you're all gathering around. The intro is very much like the movie Clue. Everyone is gathered around a table, and suddenly the lights go out, kind of thing. And as the lights go out, you kind of hear some dialogue between the people, and their dialogue is the same color all the time. So, for example, Tim is like a light green or whatever. Christy's like a light blue. And so you have this dialogue bouncing back and forth between everyone sitting in the dark. And the way the dialogue pops up, like on the screen, that is completely randomized as to where it appears. So if you were to run it one way and you run it again, the random generator is going to move where it appears. So for example, if someone's dialogue appears at the upper left-hand side for a specific line, the next time you run the game, it might be, like right in the middle of the screen or something like that. So it was kind of fun to do these little programs where you're just not sure where the dialogue is going to appear as your eyes are reading it. This was a lot of fun to do. The game is very, 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 very influenced, obviously, by Sierra, because I was a huge, avid Sierra fan. Still am, or at least of the old games. But it also has one of my favorite board games, though I'm absolutely horrible at it. I am absolutely horrible at this game, but I love the game Clue. Like, I am horrible at it, but I love that you can try to lie and deceive, like if you got more than one of the cards that they're asking for, you just show them one, and you're kind of like doing this thing and you're trying to deduce. You're looking at your two cards and you're saying 2 out of the 3, so you can try to get other people to show theirs, and they're wondering if you have that specific card you just named. It's a very fun game. I'm just absolutely horrible at it. But Clue happens to be one of my favorite movies, which also obviously takes place in this house where things go awry. Now, one of the things that I do like is, depending on your location, I typically had a response if you did something that I didn't know. So for example, in the location in the foyer, if you do something, it says for your information. I don't know where you're at. Now, real quick, I want to point out that it talks about in the foyer, there's a game called BC Quest 20. I'm going to go more into that in the commentary near the end, so if you hang tight, you'll see what that is all about. Now, one of the cool things that I'm super proud of that I did for this text adventure game is I created a map. So if you press M and enter, it pops up in a map of the house, so you can kind of always see the house. So if you're trying to get somewhere, you know where to go. And so if you go over here and you start using the game, it says, you know, something, and then it says suddenly, and then it'll drop to what is a DOS screen. And it says you can return to BC Quest 20. And so it is on C Final, Final obviously being the name of, you know, Final Soul. So I had a lot of fun with mimicking what I was doing in this game. Obviously it doesn't really drop to true DOS. It's just in the game it looks like that. And again, it brings up BC Quest. And again, if you hang out to near the end, you'll see a little surprise. If you've seen a few years ago, Rudy, who runs CRHS, he decided to have been up for 10 years, so he kind of did an anniversary video. I talk about BC Quest and stuff like that, and I think I show some images. But if you hang out, you'll see way more than what was in that video. One thing I will say is top of the map. So previous to this game, right before I hit 1,000 subscribers, and the reason I'm playing Final Soul is because I said, hey, you know what? If I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll play my own game, which I have not played in many, 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 many years. So there's my cool map right there. So I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so I'm playing Final Soul because I had reached 1,000 subscribers, and right prior to that, when I was playing Mystery House, I said, oh, you know, if I reach 1,000, I'll play my own game because I haven't played this game in forever. Now, if you watched my commentary of Mystery House, I complained a lot about a lot of things. And granted, you know, Mystery House, you know, I took this into account that when I was complaining about the game, that, you know, it is one of or the for me it is the first game that actually had like graphics to it. So like, you know, you saw the house and you saw the stairs and stuff like that, and you see people when they're dead on the ground. It looks very primitive, but you know, it was really cool that there was graphics in it. But there was a lot of things I complained about Mystery House, like, you know, moving in the house and understanding where your perception was. You know, if you got into a door or hallway and you'd get stuck and stuff like that. Now, I will say, having played my game now, there's a lot of stuff I would redo as well, because I am the jerk. So for example, here it talks about BC Quest is rolling right along, and then it lists like the discs, and then eventually if you keep reading the book, it'll say, hey, you realize there's nothing really to read. Now, what I wish I would have done in this segment is loop it back to the first time you read the book, so you can keep reading back through in case you didn't write something down. Because everything in this game, this is why I understand throughout Mystery House when I was complaining, I am the villain as well. Like, having replayed my own game, I was yelling at myself going, what are you doing? Like, why did you program it this way? You're an idiot. So for example, if you look at the books will say a very random, seems like doesn't make sense. So it'll say like, oh, you know, if I look out to the sky, sometimes I get the 3rd degree. This is a hint that when you get to the telescope, you turn the panel 3 degrees and you'll see something happen with the telescope. One of the things that it also mentions that I was just talking about is when you're looking at the books, one of the things it says, oh, you know, it's a book that talks about, you know, the difficulty of programming such a big game like BC Quest 20, that there's 8 discs, and it talks about, oh, I found disc 3, disc 1, disc 4, disc 2, disc 7, disc 5, disc 6, disc 8. Now, I did not memorize that. I actually had that written down from when I played, because I knew, playing my own game, that those books were actually not just rambling nonsense. The books are actually giving you clues as to what you're going to need to do about the house. Now, one thing that is Another thing that I'm really proud of that I did in my game is there is a save and load feature. So if you save before you read the books, you can always go back. There is also a command, and I want to say it's in the bathroom. I don't remember what the command is. It's been so long. I'd actually have to see if I have it written down somewhere on my website, where you can basically refresh everything. So, for example, in this room in the study, you can see that Marty is here, and he's drawing pictures. Now, everyone is set to appear and disappear in a room based on how many turns you've taken. So every time you do something, there's a thing that has a counter for a turn. So, for example, now in the garage, Ed is here reading an auto magazine. So after so many turns, Ed will leave. And if you come here too soon, Ed won't actually be here. So, for example, Ed might not appear in the garage until you've done 32 things. So after 32 things, Ed will suddenly appear in the garage. And some of the people that you talk to will just have nonsense dialogue. Some of them will actually provide you clues. Like I know, like when you're in the library and you talk to Robin, she'll tell you, hey, these books seem like nonsense, but I feel like they're clues. So that lets you know, hey, these might be clues. But if you get to the library before Robin's there, or if you don't talk to Robin to know that, hey, the books are clues, you're not going to know to take note of what the books are saying. So unfortunately, with how it works is once you read the books and you read the last book, you always get the last response that says, you've read the books, there's nothing really important here. So unless you go back and reset all the turn stuff, which I think also resets the book, you could technically be dead-ended because you didn't write down some of the clues, like about the discs and stuff like that. So I truly wish I had programmed a lot of this game differently. Like I truly wish that you could just read the books, and if you've read the last book, it goes right back to the first book, then the second book, then the third book, so it kind of loops. There are also areas like the garage where I say, yeah, there's your standard tools lying about in the garage. And I don't name what's in the garage. So you literally have to type get hammer. Oh, you find a hammer, but you don't need it. Get screwdriver. Oh, there's a screwdriver, but you don't need it. You know, and you have to literally think about what's in a garage, and then you have to type get that, whatever that item is. So, for example, you need the nail. So that is not obvious, and I think I do that 2 or 3 times. Like if you go to the swimming pool, if you go to the swimming pool, it just says, oh, there's a pool here, there's some lawn chairs, and your standard array of things that you would find near a pool. So you type like get towel. Oh, there is a towel here, but you don't need it. Get suntan lotion. Well, there's no time to really sit down and bathe, so you don't take the suntan lotion. Get sunglasses. Well, it's nighttime, so you don't need the sunglasses. There are things like that that I just wish I would have said, it's here. And that way when you say, look, that item displays. And if you pick up that item and it is part of your inventory and you look again, that item is no longer listed. There's a bug that's in, I want to say it's in the garage, where I talk about there is a bucket here. And you can pick up the bucket and you look at the inventory and it says the bucket is in your inventory. But when you look again in the garage, it says the bucket is still there. That was something I forgot to program to say, hey, after the bucket's been picked up, make sure the bucket's not here. I wish I had done that for all of the rooms. Like I did it for some of them. So like when you're in the foyer, it talks about there's a game sitting on the table. If you pick up the game, that description is no longer there. That it says, hey, there's a game here sitting on the table. I should have done that for every room, not have hidden it in a way that says, oh yeah, there's generic XYZ in generic room, So in a garage, go ahead, try to figure out what you need to pick up. So there are a lot of things I wouldn't say I regret. I just wish I would have done differently. And if I had the source code, no joke, I would go in there and fix it right now and recompile the game and put it back out there. However, this game being made in 1995, which was, what is that, like 30 years ago? Is that right? It's almost 30 years. 95. Yeah, this game is like 30 years old almost. Dear Lord. So, being 30 years old, naturally, I have long since lost the source code. Couldn't even imagine where it's at. It was probably on one of my computers, one of my 386, 486 machines, whatever it was that I had in 1995. But I truly do wish I could actually get the source code, or if there was a way to decompile the executable so that I could get the source code and fix it, because there's also another bug. So near the end of the game, you actually have to climb a plant that you basically make happen by triggering off some water and some light, and makes this plant grow, and you get up there and there's a key and stuff like that. But there's an error in the code where near the end of the game, you can have the plant triggered and all that stuff, and then when you go into the theater, and if you have the peanuts, and you give it to the elephant pulls open a door, and it says, hey, a door opens to the north. But if you press N to go north, it says there's no door there. It's locked. Even though it says door is open, if you do it because of the bug, it should have been. So the way I pretty sure I coded it is that the plant and the water and the telescope all have to be active. I should have made it so that the key is in your inventory has to be active. That is what should have been the trigger for the door. That if you go to the elephant to give him the peanuts, unless you have that key from the attic, the elephant shouldn't respond. So there's something I wish I would have done differently, What's interesting, though, is if you go to my site, which is tawmis.com/final soul, I did have the source code. Originally, I was going to do a Final Soul 2. So after having a lot of fun with the first one, I was going to design a second Final Soul. And remarkably, I still had that source code still in a .bas file. And so I posted it, and you can see it if you go to the site. It's not really worth it to go to it, but I just thought it was fascinating. Like, I still had my ideas for Final Soul 2, like the inventory items and how they would relate to one another. I had a little bit of the intro of how the game would open up kind of written out and stuff like that. So, have the code for Final Soul 2, or part of it. Like, the game was actually never at all. I don't even think I got probably beyond 15% of coding the second one before I stopped. But to talk about the reference of BC Quest a little bit, but I'll save it. So again, you can tell that I restored, and so here it is about that thing I was talking about where the books, BC Quest is rolling right along, so that's kind of the clue. The Stone Age, so I purposely referenced Stone Age with like italics around it to make it so that it's kind of important. So that when you come here and it says that there are stones in a certain pattern, do you want to walk across from them? If you don't put the stones in the same order, or if you don't step in the stones in the same order that I mentioned how they are for the BC Quest, they'll slide back and won't let you proceed north. But if you do it correctly, you can actually go north, and when the stones flip, they spell the word activate. The word activate ties into the BC Quest, because that riddle ties to BC Quest. So then, remember earlier, we put in the game, it dropped to DOS, we couldn't really do anything. If you type activate, that does something in the game that triggers something else within the game. So this is the swimming pool that I was talking about. You stand at the edge of an exotic swimming pool. There are numerous swimming items lying about, so stupid vague. The courtyard is to the south of you. Just ahead, to the north of you, is the yard, where the gazebo, which is spelt incorrectly, thank you, Wraith, for pointing that out. But I discovered that gazebo with that extra E is an archaic way of spelling gazebo. So I'm going to go with, I didn't spell it wrong. I just spelled it in a very archaic, now I can't even say the word. I just spelled it like the old school way. And then there's also a lighthouse, and the lighthouse can't be triggered unless you do something. So this is another one. So again, if you do get suntan lotion, it doesn't work, but if you do get lotion, that works. I should have made it so that suntan lotion or sun lotion or sunscreen, they all tie to lotion. Like, there's so much I wish I could go back and do to basically help program this. Alright, and if you go to the gazebo, it's brightly illuminated, and I was a jerk in this part. So if you look floor, it says there's a loose floorboard, there's something down there, but you can't quite reach it. I was referencing, if you've ever played Sierra's game Gold Rush, I'm pretty sure I think that's what I was referencing, because when you go to the gazebo, there's a loose floorboard and there's a coin down there. That loose floorboard and the thing down there that you can't reach, me being a jerk, total red herring. So what we have to do in the gazebo is we need something to basically dim that light, and there's something in the light bulb, which makes perfect sense. Like, who wouldn't hide something in a light bulb? But I'll let you know it's a key, and the key in the light bulb is the key to the lighthouse. You can see I definitely went with some crazy old school Sierra moon logic for some of these puzzles. The kind of things that people complain about Codename Iceman, I did that. I was the jerk. Remember how in Mystery House I was complaining about, just tell me there's a candle on the table. Like, if I look at the table, tell me there's a candle on the table. I can't tell what this is. Yeah, I was that guy. And so if you type activate from what you see, and it says loading, file loaded, activation set into motion, you briefly see something happen. Oh, and I thought it was cool. You can do I for inventory, so you can always see your inventory. You know what? I was really impressed with what I did with my game, okay? And it was cool that each location has a room number. And there is one cheat code that I do remember. If you hold down Alt and then on the numeric keyboard do 225, it creates, and I forgot what the symbol is called, but it basically looks like a very fancy B. If you do that and hit enter, it is very similar to Sierra's old school command of Control Alt D, I think it was, to debug, and then the TP command to be able to teleport. So if you do Alt 225, if you know the room numbers, you can teleport to different rooms in my game. So technically, if you know it, and you can figure out what the final room is, you can actually teleport to the final room. And I'm pretty sure I was kind of a idiot programmer and just named, just did the rooms as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rather than picking random numbers. So like maybe the foyer is room 1, but like the living room would be room 32, and then the next room would be like room 56, the next room would be room 99, so that it doesn't make it super easy to teleport to the rooms without having a key to know what the rooms are. But now I'm pretty sure I just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all, and then just number the rooms numerically, so you can very easily figure out how to teleport around. And I'm trying to remember what the command to reset all the turns. I want to say it's flushing the toilet, like if you go to the bathroom and then flush toilet. Or is it wash hands? I'm trying to remember what that is. Oh, and I remember there's also a Monty Python reference in here. Yeah, it is use toilet. So yeah, use toilet will refresh the turns, refresh the counter. I do not remember though if that refreshes the like the book counter. I think that just refreshes the turn counter so that you can run into people again. It might not refresh the book turn counter, which I don't think it will. Which is another thing. I wish I could have gone back and reprogrammed that, using the toilet, because, you feel refreshed after you use the toilet. I even think if you use the toilet, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it says. Like, it says private moment, and then it says you feel refreshed, which is a hint to say, hey, the turn counter has been refreshed, so that you can go back through the house and run into people if you've missed them. The 163 is one of the other clues that is within the book. See, this should probably be fixed, because it should, before it's been adjusted, say the light within the lighthouse can be adjusted. The light within the lighthouse has been adjusted. It should just go to has been adjusted after you do it. And I was pretty proud of the fact that you would have had to play a very, very, very old DOS game called Rogue. There's other versions of it that, because of the success of Rogue, where you're going through a randomly generated dungeon, and the map is very similar to how mine looks, except the halls are gray, and the monsters that you fight are letters. So like a vampire might be a V, a goblin might be a G, and stuff like that. The little face icon from that Rogue game is, it's a common DOS thing that you can do. But my map and the use of the face and making it yellow is a nod to that game Rogue, because in Rogue, that is the icon that you're moving, is that little face. If you've never played the old school Rogue, I highly recommend it. It's pretty much usually a short play, because it's very, 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 very easy to die in that game. Very easy. There's a lot of running sometimes. But the idea of the map sort of was inspired by Rogue, but it's also because I wanted to, for myself, I'm like a very visual person. So if I'm moving around a house with a bunch of rooms, it's very easy to forget where a room is attached to. So knowing that I could just press M and see where the conservatory is and go, okay, I just need to go east twice and then north once or something like that, helps me. And I thought, this is going to help everyone. And see, here we are. The closet talks about being remarkably hot. There's something that you need to do in the closet to make it even hotter. And then I make the good old joke of whenever you leave the closet, it always says, we knew you'd be coming out of the closet. Now I'm pretty impressed with the fact that I made this in 1995 and put that joke in here about coming out of the closet. I don't even know how common that saying was, but apparently it had to have been pretty common about coming out of the closet. I should look up when that became a thing. And it's funny, so like here in the dining room, it says there's all kinds of wine. Doesn't impress you too much because you're not a wine drinker, but something will happen, but we'll need something from one of the wine things. But you have to trigger other events before those things actually happen. For the, I guess you could say, complexity of this game and how certain events have to happen before other events can be triggered and stuff like that. I am, like, I'm gonna pat myself on the back here. I am pretty impressed that it took like 4 versions. Like, I made it, played it, found some bugs. I made it, had my wife play it. At the time, she wasn't my wife. She found some bugs, fixed it, played it, let my friend Chuck play it. He found some bugs. And I thought at that point all the bugs were squashed, but obviously there were still some that I already mentioned, like the bucket, still saying that it's there. And so here's the toilet. Forgot what I was saying. But overall, I did 4 runs of this, and I think there's literally only like 2 or 3 bugs that I wish, bugs that I wish I could fix. There's more, obviously, that I wish I could fix, like being more specific as to what is in what room. Like, I cannot believe here in hindsight, after all the complaining about Mystery House that I did, that I realized I did the same thing in my own game. Like, I was being super vague about stuff, and so angry at myself. I do have a walkthrough that is on my site. I'm considering maybe doing something for the channel, just something really quick, maybe like a little channel update that has the actual walkthrough of what to do. Because that might be kind of fun, rather than having people go to the site. Maybe do like a video with like links as to like timestamps as to what to do for the game. That might be kind of fun. So it's taking the toilet paper from the bathroom, going into the closet, and then you use it, put it into the bucket, basically start a fire. The fire goes off. This sets off the sprinklers, so water sprays all over the house. Talks about what a show. Unfortunately, the toilet paper and the bucket were destroyed. What's funny, I think if you go to the garage, obviously, even though we destroyed the bucket, I wonder if you can pick up another bucket, because it should say that the bucket has been destroyed and have a specific number for the destroyed bucket that should prevent the bucket from being picked up. But since I failed to code it so that you can keep picking up the bucket even when you have a bucket, pretty sure even when the bucket's destroyed, you can go back and pick up the bucket. So it talks about the whole kitchen is soaked, and you can see there's a lot of people in the kitchen. So Chuck's here, Tammy's here, Christy's here. You can talk to all of them. But again, each time you talk to someone, that is actually a turn. So you'll see that while you're talking to someone might leave the room, because they might leave like on turn 52, and when you talk to one other person, turn 52 happens, and then that person leaves. And then if you try to talk to them, it'll say that they're not here anymore. And that is clear right there, like when you talk to Tammy, certain things will mean something else. That's a reference to the books again. And so you can see after talking to Tammy, Christy has left the room, and then when you try to talk to her, it'll say she's not here. So overall, like, even though it's got a few bugs, and even though there are things that I definitely would want to fix and change, I am actually okay with how the game turned out. It's so inspired by Sierra. Like, it talks about how everything's soaked, and then the oven is rusted, so you use the lotion to basically grease it, and then you can open it now and see that there's a button inside. Do you press the buttons? The sound of glass clanking somewhere close by. Remember the wine bottles I was just talking about? That's what we heard. And if you can hear my dog, apparently someone has walked in front of our house, and so my dog is going crazy. If you can't hear, great. Then see, you notice a note in one of the wine bottles. You're getting warmer, so quit whining. As you can tell with the various things like that, and then like for your information when you're in the foyer, the game is full of puns. Full of puns. And like there's another one where you're in a room, if you say something or do something that the game did not understand, and it says you surpass my basic language, and basic is with periods in between indicating that it was programmed in basic. I'm so funny, I know. See, if you answer some of the riddles, it'll unlock other things. And then now she's left the room. I mean, this game had it had like a lot of moving parts with people coming in and out of the room, understanding when they're there, when they're not there, rooms having room numbers so that you can teleport to them, different puzzles requiring different things to work first. Again, it was a lot of work to program, but it was definitely a lot of fun to see the end result, which is why I wanted to do Final Soul 2, but just life being life just gets in the way of always being able to do something fun. So I never got around to Final Soul 2. See, unlike Mystery House, I always specify where the doors are. North, south, east, and west. And if it's not clear, you can look at the map. Oh! And I'll bring up something else Wrath said over on the Sierra Help forums. He mentions that the carriage house only has one door, and that is to the north, which is where the swimming pool is. And he's like, well, isn't a carriage house usually for like horses and things like that? Like, why would you bring horses through where the pool's at? And which is a completely valid point, and I should have probably put that in there so you can see the carriage house has only a door to the north. So, to explain, and I wish I'd programmed that now hearing his feedback, is the doors that are visible in the rooms, so like the carriage house has a door to the north and a door to the east. Those are doors that the player can travel through. So the carriage house obviously has like a garage door to the south, or even to the east where the carriage might come in. But I didn't put a door there because I didn't want the player thinking, oh, there's a door to the south or to the east that I can't seem to get out of. Is it a bug? And so on the map only shows doors that the players can access. So I really liked the fishing pole one where you have to find some string, you find the pull stick, and then the bent nail from the garage, and when you use them, it creates basically a fishing line. And then when you go to the aquarium, there's something in the aquarium, and if you use the fishing line, you can actually get it out of the aquarium. And see, at least here I talk about popcorn and peanuts. So this is the peanuts I was talking about earlier that you need to get from the theater in order to give the elephant head that is in the trophy room. So I purposely talk about how the peanuts come off of the floor, which is a reference to an old movie theater that me and my friends used to go to called Palm Avenue Movie Theater. Might have been Palm Avenue Studios. I think it's Palm Avenue Movie Theater because studio sounds too fancy for this place. The floors used to be really sticky. I am like 99% certain they never cleaned the floors at the old movie theater, so they were super sticky, and you'd see like stuff all over that floor all the time. So it is a reference to those old days of going to that old movie theater, which no longer exists, obviously, because that was well over 40 years ago now. Yeah, because it's older than the game. But yeah. And it's also an indication that you shouldn't eat the peanuts because they're from the floor. And this is where there is the bug, where you give the elephant head the peanuts, it nods in agreement, opens the door, but see, you can't get to the door that it mentions that it opened. There's something else you have to do first, which is climb the plant and get the thing that's in the attic. And this is where it is broke. Elephant isn't supposed to work yet. Smiley face! So the way out of the house is through that door to the north in the trophy room. It's just, it's broken. We have to do one more thing first. And see, this is what I mean. Like, I'm looking at the map and I know where I have to go, and it's great having the map to be able to just look. Okay, go right, east, south, 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 west, east, whatever direction. The map was super handy. And hopefully anyone who can see. And if you look, there is a massive plant that grows through the ceiling. So I think you have to do climb plant, even though the game talks about use is the key to everything. But I think I messed up the coding here and did not make use plant as an option. But ideally, hopefully someone types climb plant, because that's like the first thing that comes to your head. I have to double check and see if use plant actually works. So now, with everything, we've done all the things that have needed to be done. We've actually climbed the plant, got what we needed from up in the attic. We can actually now go back to the trophy room and finish the game. I also do wish that I could have redone the map a little bit, because there's some areas where the face is kind of in the wall. And so now you go through the door, you end up in the basement, it's pitch black, you can hardly see your own hand in front of your face. Who wishes to pass? We must answer the question 3. What is your favorite color? Which is obviously a reference to Monty Python. Doesn't matter what color you pick. What is the name of this game? Final soul. Final question. What is the only essential room missing from this place? Hopefully you've been paying attention to the map. There is literally only one room that I purposely left out. It's a room that's probably in most houses, even the majority of apartments. But there is one room that is nowhere in this house. It is the living room. So when you say that, you say, hope you had a pleasant stay, I trust the service was fine, please do come back again. And then after all, they talk about it, and it says, hey, well, you managed to win the game, good job. See you soon, version 0.04 CA. And that was just in case I needed to do any more bug fixes, which I never got around to because I thought I had it all figured out. So the game ends here. It's kind of just a little adventure game. There's no big payoff, no nothing. You just get out of the house. And it talks about the different releases. So California release, Premier release, fix some minor bugs. And version 3, fix the bug in the lighthouse. Version 4, fix a whole lot of bugs. Fix the ghost talk and a number of other bugs. No planning for distribution and a key. And then I don't know what the ITH final soul. And then TN. Oh, because I was running a bulletin board system, a BBS. Most of you will not even know what that is. BBS is prior to the internet being famous, where you could call another person's computer, dial into their bulletin board system, and basically either chat, download files, and stuff like that. So I was going to upload it to some BBSs in Tennessee. Final Soul. So BC Quest. Let's talk about BC Quest. BC Quest was a game that my friend Sean and I, seen here in the picture, I'm the guy with the brown hair, Sean is the one with the blonde hair. We wanted to work for Sierra, and we were thinking, what is like the only game that Sierra hasn't made yet? And so we were like, they've made Police Quest, they've already made like a dirty, like You Should Larry, they've already done sci-fi with Space Quest, they've already done like Murder Mystery with Gabriel Knight, they've already done like, Space Quest, they've already done fantasy with King's Quest or Quest for Glory, like King's Quest was your fantasy, Quest for Glory was your RPG. Like they covered everything. The only thing they hadn't covered that we knew of was prehistoric. So we came up with this idea of BC Quest. Now, it does not stand for before Christ. BC stands actually for before civilization. So the game was going to be called BC Quest Search for Civilization. What it is you have this character named Ugg, and he ends up doing some things. He basically ends up frozen in time and ends up like in modern day. There's a number of things he has to do before he gets to that point. And so we went as far, or it was me who designed it all, but I designed like a box. I designed like that logo and stuff like that. I created a manual for it, which is what you see here. So, written and designed by Thomas Lowe, Sean Coram. Programming, Thomas Lowe, Sean Coram. Special thanks to Michael Coram. The game for BC Quest that we were going to send to Sierra, I have no idea what we were thinking, literally was exactly like Final Soul. I had programmed it in DOS, made it a text adventure game, and it was just like it wasn't the full game, it was just a demo. I think it was up to where Ugg basically falls through the ice and gets frozen. So it's, in terms of playing it, you could probably get through it in 15 minutes. And I think if you did !enter, it would tell you what you needed to do. So if they were actually going to play it and look at it and see what to do and they got stuck, they'd do !enter and it'd say, hey, have you done this? Kind of give you a hint. So there's like some of the clues and stuff like that we wrote in, or I wrote in the manual. Like I went all out, and you can tell by and you can see that manual was made in 1990. So that was prior to actually coding Final Soul. So BC Quest was prior to that. This is the box cover and stuff like that. This is the table of contents. Like I kind of mimicked what you saw in like the Sierra manuals. So the land was going to be called Karogue, which is a combination of Sean's last name and my last name. I went all out. And the thing is, so I had sent them, it's the main picture of like Sean and I holding up that BC Quest sign and looking at the camera. He's holding the tube, and I've got like the bear thing with the Pizza Hut sunglasses on the on the bear. We sent that photo, and on the back of it we had taped a disc to it, basically, and then a letter enclosed saying, hey, we're really interested in programming for Sierra. We have we have a game that we want to do with Sierra. We're heavily inspired by Sierra. We've had dreams of working for Sierra. The two guys from Andromeda are something that we sort of mimic in how we think about things. We come together and we have all these great ideas. we've met and we've designed this game from start to finish, in terms of like paper and stuff like that. And here's just a quick demo of it, and then we sent that main picture along with and that picture was like a big picture, so it was like whatever it was, like that, not that one, not the one with the guitars, but it was like 8x12 with the disc taped to the back, and then we sent like normal sized pictures, like some of these, some of the box photos. That's the main picture we sent to them. And you can see this was, I think, the first one because it had tape on the bottom and stuff like that, and we autographed like this. So there's a picture of me. This is from this I accidentally put in here and I didn't realize it's too late because I meant to grab that picture and I grabbed the other one. The other one was from when I appeared in Interaction magazine. That's a different story for a different time. But you can see like I had all my I made it look like this is a game that people play, and this is the Interaction. I guess we're going to talk about it now. I appeared in Interaction magazine when they took one of my photos that I sent to them to Interaction magazine. Anyway, so going back to BC Quest, we had sent them the big picture. Disc is taped on the back, with a little bit of instructions and like our dreams and aspirations and how we were similar to the two guys from Andromeda. We had big dreams of working at Sierra. And they sent us, it was really cool, but they sent us a letter back saying, hey, you know what? We appreciate the letter. This looks like you guys are very creative. Looks like you got some good stuff here. Fortunately, we're not taking outside solicitations just yet. And also the fact that you may or may not be aware, we released a game based on the newspaper called BC Quest, or BC. And it was called BC's Quest for something, Quest for Tires, I believe it was. And there's even if we were interested, we would not be able to use BC Quest. And it was cool to get an actual response back. I don't know if they ever played it or if they just looked at it and said, "What the heck?" They may have just seen these pictures and been like, these guys are absolutely crazy. Or they may have just read the letter or read it without actually, ever playing the game that we taped on there, and wrote us back just based on the letter. Whatever the case, it didn't matter to me. The fact that they actually took the time to respond back and give me that letter back was amazing. I am... So, I was a huge, again, I said was. I am a huge fan of Sierra, and so back in the day when like the Sierra magazine and Interaction came out, literally every month I was writing to them, and to the point where I'm going to say it's Bridget McKenna, because that is the name that sticks in my head, because I know she worked at Sierra, but I'm so certain it was Bridget McKenna who responded to me one day and said, "Hey, we've taken notice that you write so much. We want to thank you." And she sent these black and white photos of Allo, Ken and Roberta, the two guys from Andromeda, Christy Marks, all of them. So I had these black and white photos. I had all of my letters and responses that I got from Interaction. And I think when I moved from California, those letters were lost at some point in the move or something happened, and I am so bummed that those photos were lost too, because Al Lowe has the black and white one on his site, so it's the same exact one that I had, so I know that's it, but I haven't seen the black and white photos posted anywhere else for the other folks. I think probably maybe Ken and Roberta I've seen, but no one else. Anyway, so that's the story of BC Quest and how it is in Final Soul and what that game actually meant to me and what my dreams were for working at Sierra. Hopefully you enjoyed this commentary and me talking about how I am the villain just as bad as the stuff that they did in Mystery House that I complained about when I did my commentary on Mystery House. I did the same exact thing. Anyway, thank you for the 1,000 subscribers. Hopefully, I promised this a while ago that I said I'd play Freddy Farkas. I promise Freddy Farkas is next. I'm not avoiding it. It it should be the next game that I play. Alright, again, thank you for the 1,000 subscribers. Much love to all of you. Bye.